Good day, dental professionals. Welcome to the Dental Flow podcast. We are dentistry's go-to resource for insights into the business side of dentistry. Your host, Benjamin Suggs, will be helping you navigate through the currents of the ever-changing dental waters. This podcast is packed with innovative practice growth strategies, actionable insights, and expert advice, all tailored to help you elevate your dental practice to the next level. If you're ready to dive in, so are we. Let's get into the flow.
Hey there, dental superstars. Welcome back to the Dental Flow podcast. Today, we're going to cover a subject that I think is going to be interesting to a lot of dentists because I know a lot of dentists out there are thinking about starting a dental practice. So today's subject is going to be 4 things that if I were in the process of planning a dental practice startup, that I would want to know. And these are not all marketing related. These are just 4 big insights that I have taken away from helping over 100 dentists start their first dental practice. So let's jump right in. The first one is, and it's a big one, location, location, location. So that may seem obvious, but there's different reasons why I say that, and I'll go into a couple of them. So the first one is the location is critical. You know, we have seen, for example, general dental practices that started up in a office building or a medical center that quite honestly had a bit of a struggle. We've seen dental offices that opened up in a retail center that did much better. And the difference between the two is foot traffic. Foot traffic is not something you're going to see a lot of in an office building or a medical center building, but you're definitely going to see a lot of it in retail space. Now, when you talk about foot traffic and how that drives new patients, then essentially your rent, your lease is a marketing budget for you in a retail space. You know, in an office building, sometimes you could get patients that are, employees at other offices in the building, but that's not really going to be a huge burst of new patients for you. So that's one of the considerations for location, is to consider opening in a retail space with a lot of foot traffic. There are exceptions to that. Obviously I said general dental practices because specialists can do well in those office settings. An example of that is if you're a pediatric dentist and you open up right next to a pediatrician in an office building, obviously that's going to be a nice source of new patients coming in to your practice. That's going to be your foot traffic, so to speak. And also specialists who operate heavily on referrals, having foot traffic doesn't really matter as much to them. So really in that sense, we're just talking about general dental practices. So another area where we see location being a big, big deal is in highly affluent competitive suburbs. So one of the things that I've often seen is a lot of dentists want to start a practice in the same area where they live because that tends to be a upscale, affluent suburb of a city. And the issue with that is anytime you have an affluent, upscale suburb, you're going to have probably 20 or 30 dentists already established there. There's going to be a ton of competition. If I live in Metro Atlanta, and if I look at some of the larger suburbs around the city, they are just highly competitive, highly saturated. You've got, Alpharetta, Georgia has like 35 dentists now or something crazy like that. So to start up in that environment is going to be hard because you're starting up where you don't have an existing patient base and your competitors do. So they're going to be able to outmarket you and they're going to be able to get a lot of referrals from their existing patients. Whereas you are starting from scratch and you're going to have to spend a lot of money to get new patients in the door. And marketing expenses are always higher based on competition. So if you run Google ads or Facebook ads or whatever it is, you're going to pay more money in a very competitive market than you would in a less competitive market. One of the things I've seen a number of our clients do is they live in that nice, affluent suburb, but they open a practice further out in a more rural area. And that way they have, a sizable drive. They have like an hour-long drive, but it's a reverse commute. Most of the traffic's going this way and they're going that way. But those practices grow fast. In fact, a lot of those practices, to be very honest, don't really need our marketing services as much after the first year because they grow so fast and so big that they don't have to spend a lot of money on marketing. So they're just attracting patients just by being where they are. So that's 2 considerations when it comes to location. I would highly recommend if you're starting this process of starting a dental practice, that you speak to a real estate broker who specializes in dentistry, and preferably a tenant rep. A tenant rep is just a broker who only represents you, not a case where they're representing the landlord and you in the lease, but only represents your interest. So that is something that you don't even pay for that service. The landlord pays this broker to be your advocate throughout the whole process. They'll give you the right attorney to work with. They'll help you through all the process. They'll know what pitfalls to watch out for so that you don't get, sign a lease that has a ticking time bomb in there that could mess up your practice in 5 years. So absolutely work with a tenant rep if you can, and really focus heavily on finding that right location. Don't pull the trigger prematurely until you find that perfect location. And another value of these tenant reps is, they already have a lot in their pocket. They already know which areas are going to be booming, which areas are growing, which areas they may even know of a second generation dental space that's in a perfect spot where you could take it. So reach out to a tenant rep, find out where the perfect location is going to be for you. So that was the first one, location. So the second big insight that I want to share today in regard to starting a dental practice is your new patient target number. So generally what we find is if you can get to a predictable, sustainable, automatic almost number of about 30 new patients per month, then that's going to generate about 45 hours of hygiene time monthly. And that is going to give you a pretty solid base for growing your practice steadily over time. So you really should shoot for that 30 new patients per month number and try and get there as fast as you can. Now, a lot of our startups, honestly, we shoot higher. We shoot for 50. And a lot of that has to do with, if you're starting a practice and you're in every PPO insurance and every discount plan and everything there is out there, then you might want to shoot for 50 because with the discounts you're giving to the insurance company, you're going to need it. But 30 is a good baseline number based on the hygiene time, based on your ability to, if you started without a hygienist, to be able to hire one because you start getting the recall and recare of those patients that are coming in. But if you look at that first 6-month period, if you can get to 30 new patients per month, and then you hit 6 months and you hit that recall for hygiene, then you're going to be in a good spot. And really you need to think about, and this might seem self-serving being that I'm a dental marketer, but you need to make sure you have budget in place to get to that 30 new patients per month number. And again, if you're in a highly competitive area, it's going to cost you more to do it there than it would in a less competitive rural area with fewer competitors. So make sure you budget the amount that you need. Make sure that you put it into the right marketing channels. I would highly recommend not doing the do-it-yourself method. We have worked with a number of clients who they started up actually months before we ever met them, and they tried that DIY method of doing their own marketing and just kind of trying this and trying that. And they've seen if this works, seen if that works, sticking their toe in the water, and it didn't work. So what happens there, unfortunately, is that if you start with that focus or scattered focus, let's call it, then 4 months in, you end up in a deeper hole than you were in the start. Your expenses are still adding up. Whatever tenant allowance you had from the landlord is dried up. Your loan, have to start paying it back. So really you want to start from day one with a focused marketing plan and make sure you set aside budget for that marketing plan. If it were me starting a dental practice and I had to choose between some fancy waterfall feature in my reception area or spending that $10,000 on my marketing, I would spend it on my marketing every time. Because once you get the patients in, then you can go buy the fancy water feature for your reception area. But most importantly, get the new patients in, try to hit that 30 new patients per month number and get there as fast as you can. So that's number 2, 30 new patients per month. Number 3 is somewhat very related, I guess I would say, to new patients. But another thing you want to invest in before you even open your door is training for your front desk staff. You need to train your front desk staff on how to properly convert new patient callers. They need to know when a new patient calls, how to successfully get that new patient caller to set an appointment. Now the top dental practices out there, they answer 97% of the phone calls that come into their practice, 97%. Most of them also have some sort of after hours answering service, or even now using an AI agent to answer the phones when you're not there. Out of that 97% that are answered, the top practices have an 80+% conversion rate, meaning that out of 10 calls, they convert 8 of those to be new patients. That is the gold standard. The actual average is more around 50%. 50% is about what we see. That can go back and forth depending if you're a PPO practice or a fee-for-service practice. If you're fee-for-service, your conversion is going to be lower than if you're a PPO practice. But what really moves that needle is training. You've got to really, really teach your front desk how to properly sell your practice, sell your dentistry, sell your services, how to show empathy to callers when they call in, how to build connections and trust over the phone so that people feel like, well, this is a no-brainer. I need to schedule an appointment for this practice. Training on this part is critical. I cannot tell you how many times we've engaged with a new client, and it's not necessarily a startup. It could be someone who's been around for years. And we start doing marketing and we start recording calls, and we're immediately showing them like, wow, like there's a lot of stuff here that we need to fix. And it can be any number of things. It could be that they're showing zero empathy to callers who call and say, oh my gosh, I'm in pain. And they are just like, hey, well, great. What insurance do you take? They're not actually saying like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. We can help you. We can make you feel better. They are letting calls in without even offering an appointment time. A very simple thing you can do that you can change to make somebody schedule an appointment is just offer a time. Another thing we hear a lot is that the dentist finds out that the staff is referring services out to other dentists, like a specialist, when the dentist says, no, wait, I can do that. I can do a surgical extraction. Don't send that to a oral surgeon. I'll do that. So it's very, very important that you sit down and do training with them. I would make sure that you're participating in that training as well, because you're going to want to hear it. And also you want to make sure that they're taking it very seriously. So I know that there's a little bit of apprehension around this for startups because you're hiring somebody new at the front desk and you're not 100% certain that there's not going to be turnover, or it's not going to work out, or whatever it is. But do invest in whatever type of training you can afford to get them ready to convert callers. Build the job description, not just a front desk receptionist or answer phones, but no, a salesperson to sell people into the practice. Set expectations for the position that you expect them to praise the practice on the phone, to sell the dentistry, to convince people that this is the practice they want to appoint with. It's extremely important that you give them a checklist, make sure that they ask all the right questions on the call, push for the appointment, give them a checklist that they can see those 5 or 6 things that you expect on every one of those new patient calls. Invest in the training. It will be so worth it. If I told you that if you were spending $100 a day on your marketing and converting 5, let's say you got 10 new patient calls a day and you're converting 5 of them. And if you could invest in training and now all of a sudden you're converting 8 of them, what a difference those 3 new patients per day would make in your dental practice. Just add up the numbers. It would be a substantial difference between you hiring the hygienist, between you hiring an associate, between you expanding into the unplumbed operatories. Invest in training on the phone. I cannot stress that enough. And the next one is the fourth and last one is somewhat related to the third one, but this is more about making sure that you have an exceptional patient experience. Patient experience is by far the thing that we see is not only bringing in more new patients for a doctor, but also keeping those new patients coming back again and again. I myself go to a fee-for-service dentist, even though I have dental insurance, and I do it because I appreciate the excellent patient experience that they have. I appreciate the fact that I never wait at all when I show up for my appointment. I literally walk in, they say hello, they greet me, they ask me if I want some water or a drink or whatever they have. And within 2 minutes, I'm being taken back to the room to start my appointment. For someone like myself, I value time above everything else. I'm willing to pay to get time back. I think a lot of people are like that, and you want to make sure that your patient experience is dialed in. So what I would ask you to do is once you're close to opening, really walk through with your team what the experience would be like from me entering the front door to me leaving out the front door on my way out. Map it out completely so that it is just an excellent experience for the patients coming in and coming out. And you'll start to see that in your Google reviews. You'll start to see patients talk about what just mind-blowing hospitality and mind-blowing experience. And, I said the word hospitality. That's a big word that we're using in our marketing right now because we're finding it's moving the needle on ad copy. If we talk about, practice that is modern and advanced technology, but they also have old-fashioned hospitality. That is what I think as we move more and more to a digital world with less and less human interaction, it's going to become a premium, not a commodity, a premium, something that people are going to look for now is to have that personalized patient experience that makes them feel like a VIP, makes them feel special, makes them feel like it's an oasis in an otherwise crappy day. Focus on those things and you will be surprised at not only how much easier it is to attract new patients, but especially how much easier it is to retain them, to have them refer other people to you. So to me, it's interesting because I don't think that a lot of startups really think through the patient experience. They just say, okay, you're going to come in, we're going to do x-rays, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And a lot of times we're not even talking about stuff you have to pay for. Like maybe you're a startup, you don't want to buy a refrigerator for the reception area with waters and all that stuff. But a lot of this stuff is free. A lot of this stuff just is how you treat people, how you talk to people, how you smile at people. It's free. And it does cost the same to give a bad experience as it does to give a good experience. So please, 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 whether it's hiring someone to help you with it or reading books about it yourself, sitting down with your team, teaching them how you want the patient experience to go. And again, like I said in the last one, put that in your job description. Put in the job description. Your dental assistant's job is not just to do x-rays and this and that. Their job is to deliver an elevated patient experience and to hit these things, to do these things with every patient, to make patients feel special. If you write it in and you set as an expectation, then your team will respond to that. They'll know that it's important. It's part of their job and they could get fired if they're not doing it. So definitely embed patient experience as a critical part of your planning in your new dental practice. So that's the big four. Obviously, there's more things that you need to consider when you're starting a dental practice, but those are just four big insights that I took out from my 14 years and 100 plus startups that we worked with. Hopefully, I hope you found it helpful. Starting a dental practice is a huge endeavor. I know there's a million decisions you have to make, a million things you have to do, but carve out the time and the focus on those four things, and you will be rewarded substantially. That's the podcast for today. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us for this Dental Flow podcast episode. If you enjoyed today's discussion and wish to stay updated on future episodes, please like, subscribe, and share the podcast with colleagues and friends. For more insights and discussions on dental marketing, we encourage you to continue riding the Dental Flow wave and tune into the next episode. Keep on smiling, learning, and flowing with the Dental Flow podcast.